Since I'm broke, I thought, why not trade stocks? Stocks are like so tough, you can make so much money, you can become a rich guy afterwards, right? And then a brilliant thought came to my mind. Since, large language models are good, yay, ChatGPT, yay, Claude, I thought, why not create something that can predict stocks, since I do know some Python. This video is just me trying out new stuff and does not constitute financial advice. So the rules of this video is simple. Numero uno. In the first 24 hours, I'll need to create a working stock prediction machine and I must be able to understand the code. So it's technically not vibe coding, right? And if I cannot do, I will need to do the challenge. So now, you might be thinking, what is the challenge? Maybe I'm gonna go fly off a building, fight Godzilla or something, but no. It's way, way harder and it's to take a shower. So without further ado, let's start.
Let's go!
It's 4 PM SG time and we are starting. Like any professional, amazing, nonchalant, 6'10", 10-plate bencher, matcha drinker, performative reader, we will be using AI. Yay, ChatGPT. Since I do not shit about this field, I'll be asking my glorious king to tell me what I need to know. But I want the AI to be able to compare between the standard, which is the S&P 500. In case you didn't know, it's just the top 500 company stocks bundled into a happy meal. Also, I'll be having some people buy and sell stocks so that I can compare against a random guy that's not using the strategy. After searching for a bit, I realized that there are so many different models like random forest, LSTM, which is like long short-term memory, linear regression, SVM, decision trees and all that. Then I go into the features that make up my model. You can think of my model being the car and the features being the parts that make up the car. The main model, which is like the regression and all that, will be the engine. I'll also need to see if the model will be able to function and make correct trades, so there's some metrics to show as well. After heeding my glorious king's advice, I realized that I actually need some walk-forward validation, which is basically the model learning as the time passes. So this can give me more information. I also need a threshold-based approach, which is the model giving me probability to execute or not to execute, and the threshold will determine if the model executes or not. I think I ditch position sizing later on because I was too lazy to do it. Then I asked the AI to rank the different features to pick the best ones. Summary time. So basically at this point in time, I know what I needed to do, and the model that I chose is the random forest one. You might be thinking, oh, what's a random forest? Is it a forest that is random? You're not wrong. So basically it's like a forest with many trees and each tree is taking an input and spits out an output. So one tree can see the price and be like, nah, we will not be trading. But another tree can see something else and say, yeah, we will be trading. Then hundreds of these trees will spit out outputs like yes or no, and then the model will take the unanimous decision from the trees and give a response. The next step, load the data. So basically I'm now writing the code to actually take the data from a place called Yahoo Finance. I first then take the data for my own 10 stocks that I will trade with, and then the data of the S&P 500. Next step, engineering shit. I'm basically taking the data that I got from the loaded data in the Yahoo Finance to calculate the daily return, the volume change, the moving average of 5 days, 20 days, other metrics like volume moving average and all that bullshit. Then I'll be doing volatilities also to see how erratic the stock is, volume to MA20 ratio, MA5 to MA20 ratio and all that. So at this point, I think I forgot to screen record, but I have my phone recording, so you have to trust me on this, alright? Next step is fixing my shit. So at this point, I'm realizing that wait, my data is rolling in really wrongly, so my code isn't really working. So basically, the date column of the data is like being replaced with like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, 7. And they're not supposed to be doing that because it's supposed to be the actual date, but it's fixed after, me and my glorious king had some amazing discussion. Then the next step is backtesting. So what I'm doing now is basically having the actual training of the model and allowing the model to tell me its predictions. I'm also implementing the walk-forward backtesting strategy, which is where the model can learn as time passes so that it can have more information that it can train on, so it can become more accurate. And after some very, very simple debugging, so the next step is actually simulating the trade. After sleeping for a really, really nice 10 hours, the there's about 7 hours left. Good morning, y'all. Had an amazing sleep and decided to start to simulate the trading code. So basically, I will need to sort the data by the date and apply the features to the data. Afterwards, I will feed the data to the model and then do the threshold whereby the model spits out a probability of doing the thing. Then if the probability is lower than the threshold, the trade will not be placed. But if the probability is higher, then the trade will be placed. Then I'll need to do the output for the code to see if the code works, because it will be really important in the future. Some code fixes here and there, because I realized the threshold was too high, so the model didn't really trade, because the model's a shy one. Okay, don't judge it. Then I realized that there's a bug where the model trades too much, because it trades too much, I guess. And if you put like 10k at the start, after 3 years, your value will decrease by 93%. So you're left with $700. So, which sounds kind of wrong if I'm gonna be honest, but honestly, guy to guy, I'm not that sure. So comment down below, if you think the code might have worked, honestly. So after finding the sweet spot of trading and not trading and fixing more bugs, the code works. So the output, right, is basically that if you put 10k, you've gotten around 26k in the span of about 2000 trading days. Yay! Then I decided to put a prompt into another chat because the first chat was getting too long. But I realized that, hey, AIs are not really smart. So I went back to the first chat. Then I crashed out and rested for a bit. The next step is comparing. So basically at the start, I was trying to see how the model, I can make it better by trading more or less, but I actually gave up after a bit. I realized that I should just make the comparison chart. Basically, the chart will have my strategy against the S&P 500 and have someone that, if they were to just buy 10 of my stocks and then hold, and about 50 random people that randomly buy and sell the stocks. Then I also need to do the output, that my code will give if it were to run, to tell me if I succeeded or not. Afterwards, the code didn't run as usual, and I did some debugging and fixing. Then I realized that my initial goal of 500 random traders were too much for my potato PC. So I changed it to 50 after realizing that the 500 random traders code is a bit buggy as well. Afterwards, more fixing and debugging, fixing and debugging, fixing and debugging, until this finally happened. So to make sense of the results, basically my model beat the random traders, every single one of them, and the S&P, but lost to a buy and hold of the actual 10 stocks. Luckily, I finished the project in time, so I would not need to do the challenge, which is taking a big fat shower. So I am here to live for another day. If you guys made it this far into the video, thanks for watching. This is my first video and I'll be making much more. Hope that you guys have fun watching and also learn something in the meantime. Do also check out this guy called Losing Loonies. I'll put his channel up on screen. I was quite inspired and intrigued after watching one of his videos, and his models are really cool. And so yeah, if you guys enjoyed, do drop a like and sub to help a broke boy out. See ya.